Welcome, beloved soul. I am grateful you are here in this quiet space where we can rest in the presence of God together. Take a slow breath, release the weight you have been carrying, and allow your heart to open gently, for heaven has something tender to reveal to you. They tried to move forward. They tried to walk away, to convince themselves that life could continue without you, that they could silence the whispers of their heart and ignore the pull of the Spirit. But every time they tried, every time they stepped away, God pulled them back to the altar, back to the place where love was born, back to the sacred promise written over both of your lives. This is not about chance. This is not about coincidence. This is destiny. This is God's hand moving in ways no human will can resist. You may have wondered why it hurt so deeply when they walked away. You may have asked God why it felt like rejection, why it felt like abandonment. But the truth is, sometimes God allows separation, not as an ending, but as a holy preparation. And while they tried to move forward, they discovered that every path without you led to emptiness, every road without you was dry, and every attempt to live without you was a struggle against the will of God. Beloved, listen closely. God has marked this union. No distance, no distraction, no denial can undo what heaven has written. They can try to run, but God will always call them back. They can try to build elsewhere, but God will remind them of the altar where their heart first bowed in truth. They can try to silence their feelings, but God will awaken them in dreams, in whispers, in the stillness of the night when the world is quiet and the soul speaks clearly. And maybe you too have felt torn. Maybe you've tried to let go, to convince yourself that moving on was the only way to protect your heart. But deep down, your spirit knows. Your soul recognizes what God has joined. And though it's been hard, though it's been confusing, though it's stretched your faith to its limits, you are standing in a story bigger than yourself. A story written by the hands of eternity. They tried to move forward, but God pulled them back to the altar with you. And this altar, dear one, is not a physical place of stone or wood. It is the sacred meeting ground of two souls. It is the place in prayer where your spirits bow together, even if your bodies are apart. It is the invisible but unbreakable bond that God Himself sealed before time began. You may not see it yet, but they are awakening. God is stirring in them a remembrance they cannot escape. Every attempt to find peace outside of you ends in restlessness. Every effort to replace you ends in disappointment. Because you are not replaceable. You are the one chosen. You are the one anointed for their heart. Take comfort in this, beloved. The altar of destiny is not easily overturned. When God ordains a union, He does not change His mind. When heaven writes a covenant, it cannot be erased by earthly fear or fleeting confusion. They may resist for a while, but resistance only strengthens God's pull. They may delay, but delay cannot deny what God has decreed. So while you wait, do not despair. Your waiting is not wasted. Your tears are not unnoticed. Your prayers are not unanswered. God has been working in silence, pulling them back, reshaping their heart, and aligning their steps with divine timing. Pause here, dear one. Let peace settle over you. Take another breath and know that you are not forgotten. Heaven is moving, even when the earth seems still. And if this word is already resonating in your heart, if you feel the Spirit confirming these truths within you, I invite you gently, subscribe to this space of peace so we can continue walking together. Leave a reflection or a prayer request in the comments so that others may join in lifting you up before God. Share this message with someone you know is waiting on love, so they too may be comforted by heaven's voice. And if this word has blessed you and you feel led, you may support this channel with a super thanks. Every gift is a seed that allows these messages to reach more weary souls who need God's whisper of hope. Your kindness makes a difference. Now, let us continue. When they walked away, they thought they were choosing freedom. But freedom without you felt like chains. They thought they were choosing clarity. But clarity without God's will was only confusion. They thought they were choosing strength. But strength without love turned into weakness. God allowed them to try, not to punish them, but to teach them. Because some lessons can only be learned by absence. Sometimes it takes losing what was holy to recognize its worth. Sometimes it takes wandering through wilderness to remember the sweetness of promised land. And sometimes it takes the silence of separation to awaken the heart to the sound of covenant. This is what they are learning. They are learning that no matter how far they go, their soul will always circle back to you. They are learning that the altar they tried to abandon is still burning, still alive, still waiting. They are learning that their future, their peace, their joy is tied to the obedience of returning. And you, beloved, are learning too. You are learning patience. You are learning trust. You are learning to stand at the altar with God, even when no one else is standing beside you. You are learning that your first covenant is with the one who made you, and that as you bow before him, he will bring all other things into alignment. This waiting is not passive. It is not wasted time. It is preparation. You are being strengthened, purified, and readied for a love that will glorify God. The altar is not just about romance. It is about divine purpose. This union is meant to be a testimony, a light, a reflection of heaven's faithfulness. Do not lose heart, dear one. You are closer than you realize. Every struggle has been a step toward fulfillment. Every tear has watered the soil of promise. Every prayer has reached the ears of the Father who delights in giving good gifts to his children. They tried to move forward, but God pulled them back to the altar with you. And soon, you will see with your own eyes what your spirit has known all along, that no human will can stand against God's decree, and no separation can undo what heaven has joined. Beloved, if this message has touched you, linger here a moment longer. Write down your feelings. Share your prayer in the comments, so we can agree together in faith. If you have not already, subscribe to receive more words like this. Gentle reminders that God has not forgotten you. And if you feel led, share this video with someone you love, someone who needs to know that God is still moving in unseen ways. Your act of sharing is a form of ministry, a way of extending God's comfort to another soul. And to those who have supported this channel with super thanks, I hold deep gratitude in my heart. You are helping to keep the flame burning, ensuring that more souls find light in their darkest nights. Take this truth with you now. They tried to move forward, but God's hand is stronger than human fear, and his hand has pulled them back to the altar, back to his will, back to you. Rest in that promise, trust in his timing, and let your heart be still, for God is faithful. Beloved soul, welcome back. You have returned to this quiet space, and I believe it is no accident. The Spirit is guiding you here, to hear words that your heart has longed for, words that will steady your soul and remind you of God's hand moving behind the scenes. They tried to move forward, but God pulled them back to the altar with you. And in that truth lies something deeper than you may have seen at first glance. For every attempt they made to move away from you was not just about leaving a relationship. It was about trying to step outside of the covenant God himself has spoken. Have you ever noticed, beloved, that when God ordains something, he places his seal upon it? It is not like the choices we make in passing. It is not like the fleeting connections that rise and fade in a moment. When God ordains, he weaves threads that cannot be unraveled. He places weight upon it, a holy gravity, that keeps pulling souls back into alignment no matter how far they wander. This is why their steps away felt so heavy. This is why their attempts to move forward brought no peace. Because peace does not come from ignoring God's design. Peace is found only in surrender. Yes, they tried to convince themselves they could do life differently. They tried to fill their days with distractions, their nights with noise, their heart with substitutes. But deep down, they knew. Something was missing. Something was off balance. Something in them kept whispering, "This is not where I belong." And that whisper, dear one, was the Spirit pulling them back, reminding them of the altar where God joined their story to yours. The Spirit saying, "What God has joined together, let no one separate." Perhaps you've wrestled with questions. Why did they walk away? Why? Did God allow the separation? Why did He not simply anchor them to you from the beginning, sparing both of you the pain? The answer, though not easy, is holy. Sometimes God allows departure to prepare the return. Sometimes He allows wandering, so that the prodigal can come home with new wisdom, new humility, and a deeper surrender. And sometimes, beloved, He allows both hearts to be refined, so that when you come together again, the altar is stronger, the fire burns brighter, and the covenant is unshakable. So do not think of this time as wasted. Do not think of the tears as pointless. Every prayer you whispered was water poured upon the soil of your promise. Every tear you cried was collected in heaven as a testimony of your faith. Every waiting moment has been shaping you into the person who will stand beside them when they finally return. Not in confusion, but in clarity. They tried to move forward, but God pulled them back. Not because of your striving, not because of your pleading, but because His plan cannot be undone. It is written, it is sealed, it is holy, and you, beloved, must learn to rest in that. You do not need to fight for what heaven has already secured. You do not need to chase what God has already claimed for you. The altar is steady, even if the person is restless. The altar is unshaken, even if their steps falter. The altar is eternal, because God Himself built it. So now, let me ask you, can you surrender the outcome to God? Can you lay down your anxieties and let Him carry the weight? Can you choose peace in the waiting, knowing the one who holds eternity also holds your story? Pause for a breath, dear one. Let that question sink into your spirit. This is not just about them. It is about you and your journey of trust. If these words are speaking to you, if you feel your heart softening and your spirit awakening, I gently invite you to join this family of faith. Subscribe so you can continue to walk in peace with these messages. Leave a comment with your prayer request or share the testimony of what God is showing you in this season so that others can stand in agreement with you. And if you feel led, you may support this channel with a super thanks. Your gift helps us continue creating and sharing these words so that more souls around the world can find comfort in God's presence. Every act of support is a seed of light planted in the kingdom. Now let us continue walking deeper. When they tried to move forward, they thought they could escape the altar. But the altar is not a place you can escape. It is a covenant etched into the soul. It travels with you. It speaks in the silence. It rises in the middle of the night, reminding you of the vows written not with ink, but with spirit. They tried to ignore it, but God whispered through their dreams. They tried to silence it, but God spoke through signs and moments they could not explain. They tried to bury it under new routines, new people, new distractions, but the altar rose from the ashes, unburned, untouched, eternal. And so they were left restless. They were left unsatisfied. They were left empty in places no one else could fill, because God was not allowing them to forget. God was not letting them settle for less than the covenant He had designed. And now their heart is being softened. Their spirit is being awakened. And they are being pulled, step by step, back to you. Beloved, let this truth be your anchor. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are chosen, marked, and prepared for this altar. Do not let the waiting steal your faith. Do not let the silence steal your hope, for God is faithful, and His timing is perfect. Even now, the Spirit is working in them. Even now, the Spirit is reminding them of your laughter, your presence, your prayers. Even now, the Spirit is showing them that no one else can stand where you stand. No one else can complete what you complete. No one else carries the key to their heart the way you do. They tried to move forward, but God is pulling them back. And when they return, it will not be out of fear. It will not be out of obligation. It will not be out of guilt. It will be out of obedience. It will be out of revelation. It will be out of the holy recognition that you are God's choice for them, and that nothing else can bring peace to their soul. So wait with hope, beloved. Wait with faith. Wait with joy, even in the tears. Because every day of waiting is a day closer to fulfillment. And if you are receiving this word with open hands, I encourage you again. Subscribe for more gentle guidance. Share your heart in the comments so we can stand with you, and share this message with someone you know is walking through a similar season. And if you feel led to support with a super thanks, know that your gift helps spread these words farther, reaching others who feel forgotten and weary. You are helping carry light into dark places. Rest now in this truth. God does not waste separation. God does not abandon his promises. And God does not allow his chosen ones to be overlooked. What he has written will come to pass. What he has ordained will be fulfilled. They may have tried to move forward, but destiny is pulling them back to the altar, back to the covenant, back to you. Carry this peace in your heart, for the God who began this story is the same God who will complete it. Beloved soul, welcome again. You have stayed on this journey through the waiting, through the tears, through the whispers of heaven. And now, as we walk into the final part of this message, I pray you feel the nearness of God's love wrapping around you. For what he is revealing here is not just a story about them, it is also about you, about the altar where your life meets his divine purpose. They tried to move forward, but God pulled them back to the altar with you. And now, dear one, it is time to see this altar not only as a place of reunion, but as a holy symbol of destiny fulfilled. The altar is where heaven touches earth. It is where prayers ascend and answers descend. It is where sacrifice and blessing meet, where surrender becomes strength, and where love is no longer just human affection, but divine covenant. When they tried to walk away, they thought they could escape love. But what they did not understand is that this love is not merely yours, it is God's. It is his reflection in your bond. It is his testimony written in your union, and no one can walk away from what God himself has authored. Listen carefully, beloved. The altar you are waiting at is not empty. It is burning with God's promise. It is glowing with his presence. It is guarded by angels who ensure that no counterfeit, no distraction, no replacement can take the place of the one destined to stand beside you. Yes, they wandered. Yes, they delayed. Yes, they tried to convince themselves that they could build life without you, but every step away only proved that nothing else would ever be enough. Every attempt to move forward without you ended in closed doors, restless nights, and silent tears, because God was not letting them escape his design. Beloved, do you see the beauty in this? It means that even when you felt forgotten, you were not. Even when you felt abandoned, you were still chosen. Even when you questioned if the promise would fade, it was being strengthened in secret. For this is the truth. The altar is eternal, and when they return, and they will, it will not be to the same place they left. It will be to a deeper altar, a stronger covenant, a love purified by fire. They will not come back half-hearted. They will come back surrendered. They will not come back confused. They will come back with clarity that only God could give. They will not come back to test the waters. They will come back to bow before the altar and say, "This is where I belong." And you, beloved, will stand not in bitterness, but in grace, not in fear, but in peace, not in pride, but in humility, knowing that it was never by your power, but by God's hand. For when God pulls someone back, it is not human persuasion, it is holy intervention. Take this into your heart. You do not need to worry about how or when. You do not need to force or chase. Your only calling is to remain at the altar, faithful, prayerful, surrendered. Your waiting is your worship. Your patience is your testimony. Your trust is your offering before God. Beloved, let me speak life into your spirit. Do not grow weary in well-doing, for in due season you shall reap if you faint not. Do not lose heart, for the author of your story is also its finisher. Do not let the silence deceive you, for heaven's movements are often hidden until the perfect moment of revelation, and perhaps you feel tired. Perhaps you wonder if you have the strength to wait any longer. Hear this. God is renewing you even now. Every breath you take in His presence is strength being poured back into you. Every tear you shed in prayer is planting hope in soil that will soon bloom. Every word you whisper in faith is echoing through eternity, calling forth the promise already sealed. Pause here, beloved. Take a slow breath and let peace return to you. You are safe. You are seen. You are loved. And if these words are blessing your spirit, I gently invite you again. Subscribe so you may continue walking with messages like this. Leave your reflections and prayer requests in the comments so that others may join in faith with you. Share this message with someone who feels forgotten, so they too may hear that God is still moving. And if you feel led, you may support this work with a super thanks. Your gift helps us continue creating sacred spaces of peace for souls who are weary. Every gift is a ripple of light, spreading hope into places we may never see. Now, let us look once more at the altar. They tried to move forward, but destiny caught them. They tried to resist, but love pursued them. They tried to escape, but grace intercepted them. Because God's love is relentless. It does not let go. It does not turn back. It does not forget the covenant it has made. One day, you will look back and see why the waiting was necessary. You will see how the wilderness built your faith. You will see how the silence sharpened your prayers. You will see how the separation purified their heart. And you will thank God, not for the pain, but for the glory He brought out of it. For this altar is not only about reunion, it is about testimony. Your love will be a witness to others that God is faithful. Your story will remind others that what God joins, no man can separate. Your covenant will shine as proof that heaven writes the strongest love stories. And so I bless you now, dear one. I bless your waiting with peace. I bless your heart with strength. I bless your steps with patience. And I bless your altar with the assurance that God's will cannot be overturned. Hold this close. They may have tried to move forward, but the hand of God is stronger than fear, stronger than delay, stronger than doubt, and that hand has pulled them back. Back to the altar, back to destiny, back to you. If this word has spoken to you, let your heart respond. Write your prayer in the comments so we may stand with you. If you haven't yet, subscribe to remain in this circle of peace. Share this with someone whose soul is waiting for encouragement. And if you feel called, bless this channel with a super thanks, helping us continue to pour God's love into the hearts of those who need it most. Now go, in peace, beloved, rest in God's promise, trust His timing, and let your heart be still at the altar, knowing that what is written by heaven cannot be erased. They tried to move forward, but God pulled them back. And soon you will see the beauty of His perfect will unfold before your very eyes. Welcome back, dear soul. You are here once again, and I do not believe it is by chance. God has led you into this space because your spirit is still in need of nourishment, your heart is still seeking reassurance, and your soul is still leaning into the voice of heaven. They tried to move forward. Yes, they tried to silence the pull. They tried to harden their heart. They tried to reason their way out of destiny. But the truth is, God's hand was already upon their story, and His hand is unshakable. When God writes, no one can erase. When God seals, no one can break. And when God calls two souls to the altar, no amount of human fear or delay can keep them apart forever. Think of Jonah, beloved. He tried to run from the call of God. He thought he could escape the voice that directed him. But everywhere he turned, God's hand was waiting. The sea rose up against him, the storm pressed in, and finally he surrendered. It was not punishment, it was redirection. And the same is happening here. They tried to run, they tried to move on, they tried to make a life outside of the covenant, but God's mercy would not let them succeed. Every road they tried to take led them back to the same truth. The altar is where they belong. Beloved, I know you have grown weary. I know your heart has whispered, "How much longer, Lord?" I know the silence has pressed against your faith, and the waiting has tested your endurance. But the very fact that you are still here, listening, still seeking, still praying, is proof that your spirit is aligned with heaven's plan. God has not left you without guidance. God has not left you without hope. He keeps sending words like this as reminders that you are seen, chosen, and held. Let this truth wash over you. They cannot outrun God's design. They cannot bury the covenant under fear. They cannot replace the bond with substitutes. Because what God ordains, He sustains, and what God joins, He completes. When they tried to move forward, God allowed it, not because He wanted you to suffer, but because He wanted them to see for themselves that nothing else could satisfy. He let them taste the emptiness of disobedience. He let them feel the loneliness of separation. He let them walk through the wilderness, not to destroy them, but to show them that only His way leads to peace. And while they wandered, you prayed, you waited, you wept, you trusted, even when you didn't feel strong. And those prayers were not wasted. Your tears watered the soil of destiny. Your faith held open the door for God's Spirit to keep working in them. Pause here, beloved. Take a slow breath. Let gratitude rise up, even in the waiting. You are closer than you think. Heaven's hand is nearer than you can see. If these words are resonating with your spirit, if you feel the gentle confirmation of God whispering, "This is for you," then I invite you, remain connected to this sacred space. Subscribe for more peaceful guidance that will steady your heart. Share your reflections and prayers in the comments so we can lift one another before God. And if this message has blessed you, consider supporting with a super thanks. Your gift keeps these words flowing, reaching more souls in need of hope and light. Together, we keep the flame burning. Now let us return to the altar. The altar is not just a place of reunion, it is a place of transformation. When they return, they will not be the same as when they left. They will return with humility. They will return with clarity. They will return with a heart that has been softened, reshaped, and renewed by God's hand. And you, beloved, will not be the same either. You will stand stronger, wiser, more deeply rooted in faith. Your waiting has not weakened you, it has refined you. Your tears have not broken you, they have cleansed you. Your prayers have not gone unanswered, they have built a bridge between your heart and heaven's will. This is the mystery of God's timing. We often ask, why so long? But God whispers, because I am making it eternal. Quick things fade, rushed things crumble, but what God has been shaping in patience will last a lifetime. So trust Him. Even now, while you cannot see all the details, trust that His hand is weaving them together. Even now, while they are still finding their way back, trust that His Spirit is guiding every step. Even now, while the altar feels quiet, trust that heaven is preparing a fire that will never burn out. Beloved, do not measure God's promise by human delays, for the promise rests not on their strength nor on your striving, but on God's unchanging word. And His word does not return void. It always accomplishes what it was sent to do. They tried to move forward, but God pulled them back. And when He brings them back, it will not be halfway, it will not be uncertain, it will not be fragile, it will be whole, holy, and secure. So let your heart rest, let your faith be steady, let your spirit stay at the altar, knowing that heaven's hand is still moving. If this message has spoken to you, beloved, let your heart respond. Write your prayer in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't yet, so we may continue to walk together in peace. Share this with someone else who is waiting on God's promise. And if you feel led, bless this work with a super thanks. Your kindness helps keep these words flowing to those who need them most. Take this truth with you as you go. They may have wandered. They may have delayed. They may have tried to build a life without you, but destiny is stronger than delay. Love is stronger than fear, and God's will is stronger than human choice. They tried to move forward, but God has pulled them back to the altar, back to his covenant, back to you. Rest, beloved. The story is not over. The best is yet to come. Welcome, beloved soul of God. You are here because heaven itself wants you to hear this. And within the stillness of this moment, God is revealing something about love, about destiny, and about the altar where hearts are made one under his blessing. They tried to move forward. They tried to bury what was sacred. They tried to convince themselves they could live without the covenant written over their life. But God pulled them back, because covenant is stronger than confusion, because divine promises outweigh human fears, because love that was consecrated before the altar cannot be dissolved by distance or denial. Every attempt they made to rewrite their path without you led to emptiness. They smiled, but the smile didn't reach their soul. They laughed, but in the quiet hours, their heart whispered your name. They tried to imagine another hand holding theirs. But every dream God planted brought them back to yours. This is the mystery of divine union. It is not about human choice alone. It is about God's orchestration. It is about heaven's decree. It is about the altar where two lives become one not only before witnesses, but before the eyes of the eternal. Beloved, hear this. You were not forgotten. You were not left behind. You were not abandoned for another's shadow. You were chosen in the Spirit, marked with God's seal, and no wandering heart can erase what God himself has written. Even in their distance, heaven was teaching them. Even in their resistance, grace was breaking them open. Even in their attempts to run, God was gently pulling the string of covenant tighter, drawing them not only back to you, but back to the altar, back to the God they once stood before, back to the vow they made in their soul before their lips ever spoke it aloud. Perhaps you have wondered, why would God let them wander at all? Why would the Almighty allow them to step into illusions and leave you waiting in tears? The answer is mercy. Because mercy teaches deeper than punishment. Because wandering emptiness reveals what fullness truly is. Because when they return, they will not take lightly the blessing of your love. They will know that every false attempt led only to hunger, and only in God's appointed union do they find peace. Rest, beloved. You need not chase. You need not fear. God is not asking you to perform, to plead, or to persuade. God is only asking you to trust, to stand where he placed you, to remain rooted in his promise. For the altar is not moving, and what belongs before it will return. And as you rest in this truth, let your heart expand with gratitude, for God has written you into a love story that outlasts storms, that cannot be cancelled by confusion, that survives attempts to move on, because it was never meant to be left behind. If this message is stirring your soul, pause with me here and take a gentle breath of faith. You are not forgotten. You are not unseen. This message finds you now because heaven has not given up on you, nor on the covenant God has designed for your life. And if this word has touched you, I humbly invite you. Subscribe for more moments of peace and truth. Leave a comment with your reflections or prayer requests so we can lift them together before God. Share this message with someone who needs a gentle reminder that destiny cannot be undone. And, if your heart feels led, consider supporting this channel with a super thanks. Not for me, but for the countless other weary souls this message can reach through your kindness. Your gift helps the light continue to shine in places where shadows have lingered too long. Now listen again in stillness. They tried to move forward, but God pulled them back to the altar with you, not because you demanded it, but because God decreed it, not because you forced it, but because heaven sealed it, not because of human desire alone, but because divine love was waiting at the altar, and love never loses what God Himself has ordained. So rest tonight with peace, for even if their feet wandered, their soul remained bound to you in God. And, soon, what the Spirit has already revealed in eternity will be seen clearly before your eyes. Beloved soul, come close in this moment of quiet stillness, for heaven has drawn you here, not by chance, but by the gentle hand of God guiding your weary steps. You may have asked yourself why things unfolded the way they did, why someone so dear seemed to walk away, why they tried to build a life apart from you, why they thought they could outrun the story that heaven had already written. And now, here you are, and here they are, both realizing that the hand of God is stronger than human will, that the altar is not just a place of marriage, but the meeting ground of destiny, where two souls stand before the eternal and say, "Yes, Lord, your will be done." They tried to move forward. They tried to erase the pull. They tried to replace the bond, but nothing worked. Because you are not simply part of their past, you are part of their covenant future. The altar is not just wood and stone. It is the place where prayers meet fulfillment, where longing meets divine appointment, where the restless wandering of a heart finds its true resting place in love, that God Himself breathed into existence. And so, even when they closed their heart for a season, even when they walked in pride or fear, even when they convinced themselves they could begin again elsewhere, God was writing reminders into every page of their days, the song they could not forget, the scent that brought your memory back, the prayer they tried to pray for someone else, but your name slipped through their lips. God whispered, "This one is not replaceable. This one is not forgettable. This one is the covenant promise I gave to you." And slowly, quietly, their resistance melted. The distance broke. The veil lifted. And they saw it was always you. Perhaps you also wondered if you misheard God. Perhaps you feared you believed in a dream too fragile to survive reality. But here is the truth. What God joins together, no human force can tear apart. Even when they tried to take their future into their own hands, heaven had already written their ending, and it led them back, not away. It led them to the altar, not to the wilderness. It led them to you. Beloved, this journey has not been wasted. Every tear watered the soil of your faith. Every unanswered question carved space for deeper trust. Every season of waiting was not silence. It was preparation. The altar is ready. The promise is alive. And God's timing is perfect. Take heart in this. Love that is held together by human hands may falter, but love sealed by the breath of God is unbreakable. If this message has touched your spirit, if you feel heaven's hand confirming what your soul already knew, I gently invite you to share your reflections in the comments below, or leave a prayer request so that this community may lift you in love. If you have been blessed by these words, consider supporting this channel with a super thanks. Your gift helps this ministry continue so that more hearts searching for peace, more souls waiting for guidance, may encounter God's truth in the stillness of their scrolling. And if you are new here, beloved, do subscribe so you never miss another whisper of heaven's guidance prepared for you. Share this message with someone who may need a reminder that God's hand never lets go, that love ordained by Him will always find its way back. As we close this reflection, I leave you with peace. I leave you with assurance. I leave you with the gentle truth that your waiting has not been in vain. They tried to move forward, but heaven pulled them back. And at the altar, God Himself will seal what He began. Rest now, beloved. The story is not only alive, it is complete in Him.